Welcome back to the Leukopak Lady. Today I talk about why I think paying cell therapy donors helps material be more available for allogeneic cell therapy manufacturing than relying on donors to volunteer for these types of collections. One of the reasons I feel strongly about this is because of the data available from the worldwide paid plasma industry. There are only 5 countries in the world that pay plasma donors, while the rest rely on volunteer plasma donations. All countries need plasma for PDMP manufacturing, but those 5 countries that pay their plasma donors supply 90% of the worldwide plasma used to make PDMPs. What this means is that all countries that use PDMPs to treat their citizens actually rely on paid plasma donors in those 5 countries, whether they pay their own plasma donors or not. The blood industry insists that volunteer donation is the only way to ensure a consistent, sustainable blood supply. But each year, it is becoming more difficult for the volunteer blood industry to meet the transfusion needs within their own countries. More times each year, the blood centers must advertise their desperate need for blood donors because they don't have enough blood for local or national patient needs. In addition, studies have shown that volunteer blood and paid plasma donor programs have coexisted in the same regions for decades and don't seem to undermine each other, meaning that paid plasma programs are not enticing people to donate that would otherwise choose volunteer donation. So these really are separate donor groups altogether. So as allogeneic cell therapies race towards approvals, you can imagine that the need for a reliable and sustainable supply of starting material is essential for success. Not every donor will qualify for a leukopak or bone marrow donation. Much fewer than would qualify for blood or plasma donation. Therefore, it will inevitably be a much smaller donor pool of highly qualified, eligible, and willing donors to supply cell therapy developers with starting materials. So, considering that the paid plasma industry is able to meet 90% of the worldwide demand for plasma needed for therapeutic manufacturing, and that cellular starting material donations take much longer and involve more risks, which I'll talk about in the next episode, it makes the most sense that paying cell therapy product donors is the best way to build a sustainable, reliable, and best quality donor pool that will give the allogeneic cell therapy industry the best chance for long-term success. So that's all for this week, but I'll continue this topic next week, addressing the moral and ethical side of paid donations and why I think it is moral and ethical to pay cell therapy donors for their time and risk.